Hello maths fans! Parallel and perpendicular lines, the equations of them. So we're talking about straight lines, and parallel lines is a very simple thing to spot, and that is that all parallel lines have the same gradient, same steepness, the same slope. So if I had y equals 2x plus 2, any line that has y equals 2x as part of its equation is going to be parallel. So they have the same gradient, or if we're writing it in the form y equals mx plus c, they have the same value for m. Okay? It's as simple as that. If it's a parallel line, immediately you have some information that tells us the coefficient of x if we're writing it in the gradient intercept form, y equals mx plus c. Parallel lines, same gradient, simple. Let's look at the sort of applying that. So we want to know the equation of a line. We know it's parallel to y equals 5x minus 1, and we know it passes through the point 1, 2. So how are we going to find the equation of that line? Well, we're going to straight away think about writing it in this form, y equals mx plus c. And we're given so much information by that parallel thing, that 5x, that is the gradient. So I'm going to know that it's y equals 5x plus something. What we need to find is the something, the c. Well, let's use this information. We've been given an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Let's put those numbers in here and in here, and that'll allow us to find c. So we know that the y is 2, so 2 equals 5. We know the x is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. And so I get 2 equals 5 plus c. And take away the 5, I get negative 3 equals c. Now we put that information back into this equation. We know the m is 5, so we've got y equals 5, x, and we know that the c is negative 3. We have the equation of a line parallel to this, passing through this point. Okay, that minus 1 doesn't really help us with the parallel line here. We just needed to take out the gradient as the number 5. Put it into y equals mx plus c, m is the gradient, and then find c by substituting. Here's one for you to try. So find the equation of a line that's parallel to y equals half x plus 4 and passes through 4, 7. Pause the video, give it a go. Pause. Okay, here's your answer then. So we know that we're going to have y equals half x plus something. Substitute in the values of x. X is 4 there. So we've got half of 4 and y is 7. Half of 4 is 2. 7 equals 2 plus c. Take away the 2, we get 5 equals c. And so I get y equals half x plus 5. That is the equation of a line parallel to half x plus 4. Y equals half x plus 4. And passing through this point. Okay? Moving on to perpendicular now. That's parallel, same gradient. Simple. Perpendicular line's a little bit more tricky. Something that we need to remember is that perpendicular lines have gradients that are the negative reciprocals of one another. Say that again, negative reciprocals. Well, negative, we know, that's just stick a minus in the front, or make it negative if it's positive, positive if it's negative. The reciprocal is 1 divided by the number. It's basically do 1 divided by the original gradient and then make it into a negative to find that. Let's look at some examples. This will make it clearer. So if we have a gradient of 2, then we just do 1 over 2 to make it the reciprocal, and then we put a negative in front of it. So if we have a gradient of 2, the perpendicular gradient will be negative 1 over 2. We do 1 over the number, make it negative. A couple more examples. Gradient of 5, we do 1 over 5 and make it a negative. That's the perpendicular gradient. Worth noting as well, if we look at that previous example, 2 and negative half, 2 times negative half, or 2 times a half is 1, and negative is minus 1. When you multiply these together, you're going to get minus 1. Way to check if 2 gradients are perpendicular, 2 lines are perpendicular, take the gradients, multiply them together. If you get negative 1, they are perpendicular. Have a look at some more examples. So here we have negative 4, so we're still going to do 1 over that, but then instead of making it negative, the negative goes to a positive. So we change the sign. So 1 over negative 4 there, and then change the sign. Another example. When we've got a fraction, the reciprocal, 1 divided by that number, 1 divided by 3 over 4, we don't stack it up like that, we just flip it upside down. Okay? The reciprocal of 3 over 4 is 4 over 3. And then we make it negative. So if it's a fraction, flip it upside down. Okay. Perpendicular lines, the gradient is the negative reciprocal. Here's an example. Y equals 2x plus 2. That has a gradient of 2. And here is a perpendicular line, and it has a gradient of negative 1 over 2. These happen to have the same y-intercept, so they both have a plus 2 on the end there. And it's worth noting that the first gradient times the second gradient, that's always going to be negative 1. Let's look at applying that in an example. So, the equation of the line, find the equation of the line that is perpendicular to y equals 5x minus 1 and passes through 10, 2. Well, we first of all need to work out the gradient. We're going to write it in this form, y equals mx plus c. We need to find m first. So, here the gradient is 5. So I'm going to do 1 over the 5 and change the sign, make it negative. So the negative reciprocal of 5 is minus 1/5. So I get y equals negative 1/5 x plus c. Now I'm going to use my x and y coordinate here, substitute it in, and that will find c for me. So let's put the y as 2 equals negative 1/5 and x is 10 plus c. Well, 1/5 of 10 is 2, so this is minus 2, and I get 2 equals minus 2 plus c. Add 2 to both sides, and I find that my y-intercept is 4. So let's write out that equation, and I get y equals negative 1/5 of x plus 4. And that is the equation of the line perpendicular to this one, passing through 10, 2. So first thing to do is to make the gradient and negative reciprocal, put it into our gradient intercept form, y equals mx plus c, substitute in the point that we've got, the coordinate we've got, to find c, to make the final equation. So quite a lot of steps now to do that one. Make a note of that, and then try this next one. So here's one for you to try. And I suggest pausing the video here and giving it a go yourself, and then I'll go through the answer. So find the equation line perpendicular to y equals half x plus 4, passing through 3, 4. Pause it now. And here is your answer. Okay, first things first, negative reciprocal of this. Well, fraction, flip it upside down, is 2 over 1, which is 2, and make it negative. So there's my gradient for the perpendicular. My gradient for the perpendicular is negative 2. So I'm going to have y equals negative 2x plus something. Substitute these values in for, I always like to label x and y. So we've got y is 4 minus 2 times 3, and then a plus c on the end. That's 4 equals negative 6 plus c. That's 10 equals c. And so my final equation is y equals negative 2x plus 10. And there we go. So that is parallel and perpendicular lines. Hopefully you've understood all that. Go and do some practice. Cheers.